Look, be honest for a second. You finally save up your first $5,000. You check your bank app. You stare at the number. You refresh it just to make sure it's real. And then your brain goes, that's it. Like, this took months, skipped dinners, said no to trips, ignored Amazon carts, watched everyone else live their life while you did the responsible thing. And now you're sitting there thinking, this doesn't change anything. You still have to go to work. You still stress about bills. You still feel one bad month away from chaos. So you start wondering, was all that effort even worth it? Because if $5,000 doesn't make life better, what's the point of saving at all? My name is John, and I spend way too much time thinking about money and personal finance. If you're someone who is trying to save money but feels like it's never enough to actually matter, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. And look, if you've ever felt disappointed, underwhelmed, or even angry after saving your first chunk of money, this video is for you. Because here's the thing, your first $5,000 feels useless for a reason, but it quietly changes everything in ways most people never notice until it's gone. Challenging the common assumption. Early, most people think money only matters when it's a lot. Like, I'll feel better at $50,000. Life will change at $100,000. Once I hit six figures, then I'll relax. But here's what most people don't realize. The first $5,000 doesn't change your lifestyle. It changes your position. And that difference is everything. Why $5,000 feels so disappointing. Psychology. Let's talk about why this number feels so underwhelming. Because this isn't about math, it's about expectations. Your brain secretly expects money to remove stress, create freedom, buy relief, fix uncertainty. But $5,000 doesn't buy you a new life. It buys you space. And space doesn't feel exciting until you remember what life feels like without it. Here's a stat that puts this into perspective. According to the Federal Reserve, nearly 40% of Americans can't cover a $400 emergency without borrowing or selling something. So when you save $5,000, you're not rich. You're just no longer fragile. And psychologically, that's an unfamiliar feeling. The why did I even try moment. This is the dangerous moment because this is when people give up. They say, saving doesn't work. This isn't changing anything. I might as well spend it. And then, inevitably, something happens. Car repair, medical bill, job hours get cut. Life does what life does, and suddenly that $5,000 disappears. And that's when the regret hits. Because only then do you realize what it was doing the entire time. What $5,000 actually does, this is where it gets interesting. Let me show you something most people never connect. Money doesn't just buy things. Money buys behavior change. Let's break this down. 1. It slows down panic decisions. When you have $0 in savings, every problem feels urgent. You don't ask, what's the best decision? You ask, what's the fastest fix? That's how people put emergencies on credit cards, take bad loans, stay in toxic jobs, ignore better options. But with $5,000, you pause, you breathe, you think. That pause alone is worth thousands. 2, it reduces financial noise. Here's something fascinating. Researchers in behavioral economics found that financial stress lowers cognitive performance by the equivalent of losing 13 IQ points. That's like pulling an all-nighter, permanently. So when you have no savings, you're not bad with money. You're just mentally overloaded. $5,000 doesn't make you smarter. It makes your brain quieter. 3, it breaks the everything is an emergency loop. Look, when every problem is an emergency, nothing improves. But $5,000 draws a line between inconvenient problems, actual disasters. And once that line exists, you start making long-term decisions. This is where progress actually begins. Clear math example, simple, real numbers. Let's do real math. Say your monthly expenses are $2,000. Your $5,000 gives you 2.5 months of breathing room, 0 interest, 0 stress-based decisions, 0 panic borrowing. Compare that to a credit card at 24% interest. Borrow $5,000 and take 3 years to pay it off. You'll pay over $2,000 in interest. So your savings didn't earn you money. It saved you from losing it. That's invisible wealth. Addressing the objection. Directly now, you might be thinking, okay, John, but $5,000 still doesn't feel life-changing. You're right. It's not supposed to feel good. It's supposed to feel boring. Because boring money is stable money. Exciting money usually comes right before disaster. The analogy relatable. Think of $5,000 like a seatbelt. You don't notice it when things are going fine. But the moment something goes wrong, it's the difference between a setback, a catastrophe. Nobody celebrates buying a seatbelt, but everyone regrets not having one. Why this is the hardest money you'll ever save. Here's another truth people don't talk about. Your first $5,000 is the hardest money you'll ever save because you're fighting habits, you're learning discipline, you're rewiring identity. You're not just saving money, you're becoming someone who saves money. That's a permanent upgrade. The identity shift, psychology deep dive. Once you save $5,000, something subtle happens. You stop seeing yourself as someone who hopes things work out and start seeing yourself as someone who can handle problems. That identity shift compounds faster than interest ever will. Why people self-sabotage at this stage? This is where people mess it up. They say, I deserve a reward. I've been so disciplined, I'll rebuild it later. And later never comes because they didn't lose money. They lost momentum. What most people don't realize, momentum is the real asset here, not the $5,000, because once you prove you can save $5,000, $10,000 doesn't feel impossible. It feels inevitable. How $5,000 quietly changes your future. Here's the chain reaction. Less panic, better decisions, lower interest, more patience, smarter investing, faster recovery from mistakes. That's how wealth is actually built. Not with jackpots, with buffers. Actionable steps, clear and practical. Here's exactly what to do once you hit $5,000. Step 1. Protect it from yourself. Put it in a separate high-yield savings account. Out of sight matters. Step 2. Define its job. This is not spending money. This is stability money. Step 3. Stop touching it. Don't optimize. Don't invest it yet. Let it sit. Step 4. Start the next goal immediately. Your next target is $10,000. Momentum matters more than perfection. Storytelling moment. I've talked to hundreds of people about money, and almost every single one who built real financial stability says the same thing. Nothing changed when I hit $5,000 until I realized everything had. They slept better. They took smarter risks. They stopped living in reaction mode. Building to the final insight. Here's the final truth. $5,000 doesn't make you rich. It makes you harder to break. And in a world where most people are one bad week away from collapse, that's power. Strong motivational ending plus CTA. So if your $5,000 feels useless, good. That means it's working. It means you're building something invisible, but unshakable. And if you're still on the path to your first $5,000, don't stop. This is the hardest part. Everything after this gets easier, not because life changes, but because you do. If this helped you think differently about money, hit the thumbs up. Subscribe if you want more honest, practical financial education. And remember, you don't build wealth by feeling rich. You build it by becoming financially unbreakable. See you in the next one.